The Shadow Shift, a Holiday Gauntlet. The fluorescent lights of the corporate office hummed a perpetual, anodyne lullaby, a sound Marcus had come to associate with the very marrow of his days. As an African-American male on a team of 7, he often felt like a lone bass note in a melody dominated by higher, brighter frequencies. His colleagues, mostly Caucasian females, drifted through their work weeks with an ease that felt like a foreign language to him. Sarah, with her perfectly coiffed blonde hair, would chatter about weekend getaways. Emily, with her cheerful disposition, would meticulously plan her PTO months in advance, her desk calendar a vibrant mosaic of future leisure. David, the quietest of the group, still spoke of golf games and undisturbed evenings. For them, work was a well-defined compartment, neatly sealed off by the chiming of a clock and the promise of a clear, unburdened horizon. Marcus, however, lived in a different dimension of time. His horizon was always hazy, perpetually punctuated by faint, shimmering mirages of rest that would dissolve into the hard reality of another urgent email, another last-minute task. He was the quiet engine, the unseen foundation upon which the team's apparent stability rested. While others navigated their careers with a compass, Marcus felt he was constantly building the compass itself, brick by painstaking brick, often in the dark. The unspoken expectation hung in the air like a heavy, humid blanket. He had to do more, be more, prove more, just to occupy the same space. His efforts weren't just about performance, they were a constant rejustification of his very presence, a silent plea for belonging in a world that often questioned his right to it. The approaching public holiday, Thanksgiving Day, loomed like a beckoning lighthouse in his stormy work week. It was a beacon of hope, a potential oasis in his relentless desert of duties. He had even, optimistically, made tentative plans, a quiet evening with his fiancée, perhaps a long-delayed visit to his aging grandmother. A chance to simply breathe. The thought alone was a fragile, precious thing, a sliver of peace he desperately craved. The demands had started subtly, almost imperceptibly, like a slow tide encroaching upon a sandy shore. A late-night email asking for just a quick look at a critical report. A Saturday morning call about a minor system glitch that only Marcus seemed equipped to troubleshoot. Each instance, presented as an exception, gradually morphed into an unspoken rule, a baseline expectation that Marcus was always on call, always available. His phone, once a mere communication device, had become a digital umbilical cord connecting him inexorably to the office, even on his designated days off. His colleagues, meanwhile, navigated their PTO and weekends with the serene confidence of seasoned sailors in calm waters. He'd overhear their conversations, excited plans for beach trips, hiking excursions, or simply the luxurious indulgence of doing absolutely nothing. Mr. Henderson, their department head, a man whose smile rarely reached his eyes, would often stop by Sarah's desk, inquiring with a paternalistic charm. "Sarah, all set for your mountain retreat next month? Make sure you truly unplug." And Sarah, radiating contentment, would nod, affirming her undisturbed journey into leisure. Emily, too, would be asked about her wellness weekend, her plans for yoga and meditation gently probed, as if management were personally invested in her mental well-being. Marcus, observing these interactions, felt a familiar knot tighten in his stomach. He'd learned to preemptively deflect any similar inquiries, offering vague non-answers about catching up on chores or personal errands, lest the truth that his weekends were often just a different kind of workday be too starkly revealed. He was a master of camouflage, blending his exhaustion into a facade of calm diligence. He knew that the moment he showed weakness, the moment he admitted he couldn't keep up, he risked validating the very prejudices he worked so hard to disprove. His workload wasn't just physical, it was a psychological tightrope walk, every step a performance of strength and resilience. He was living a perpetual double entendre, His rest a euphemism for more work. His breaks just opportunities for unexpected calls. His colleagues, meanwhile, navigated their PTO and weekends with the serene confidence of seasoned sailors in calm waters. He'd overhear their conversations, excited plans for beach trips, hiking excursions, or simply the luxurious indulgence of doing absolutely nothing. Mr. Henderson, their department head, a man whose smile rarely reached his eyes, would often stop by Sarah's desk, inquiring with a paternalistic charm. "Sarah, all set for your mountain retreat next month? Make sure you truly unplug." And Sarah, radiating contentment, would nod, affirming her undisturbed journey into leisure. Emily, too, would be asked about her wellness weekend, her plans for yoga and meditation gently probed, as if management were personally invested in her mental well-being. Marcus, observing these interactions, felt a familiar knot tighten in his stomach. He'd learned to preemptively deflect any similar inquiries, offering vague non-answers about catching up on chores or personal errands, lest the truth that his weekends were often just a different kind of workday be too starkly revealed. He was a master of camouflage, blending his exhaustion into a facade of calm diligence. He knew that the moment he showed weakness, the moment he admitted he couldn't keep up, he risked validating the very prejudices he worked so hard to disprove. His workload wasn't just physical, it was a psychological tightrope walk, every step a performance of strength and resilience. He was living a perpetual double entendre, his rest a euphemism for more work, his breaks just opportunities for unexpected calls. As Thanksgiving Day drew nearer, the office began to buzz with holiday anticipation. People exchanged tips on traffic routes, restaurant reservations, and binge-watching suggestions. Marcus allowed himself a fleeting moment of shared joy, a silent, internal countdown to his own small celebration of freedom. He envisioned his fiancée, Aisha, curled up beside him on the sofa, a warm cup of tea in hand, the rare luxury of an unscheduled, uninterrupted evening stretching before them. This vision, however, was as fragile as spun sugar, destined to shatter with the inevitable impact of reality. The call came on a Tuesday, 2 days before Thanksgiving Day. Mr. Henderson's voice, usually a clipped monotone, took on an almost apologetic yet firm tone. "Marcus, could you step into my office for a moment?" Marcus's gut clenched. He knew that tone. It was the prelude to an opportunity that felt suspiciously like a burden. He walked into the sterile office, the glass walls offering no true transparency, only a distorted reflection of the corporate world outside. Henderson sat behind his polished mahogany desk, framed by city views that seemed to mock the confined reality of those working within. "Marcus," Henderson began, leaning forward, hands clasped, "we have a slight situation for Thanksgiving Day. The Xylotech project, you know, the one with the critical server migration, it simply must go live then. And with the usual holiday staffing, you're truly our only resource." The word resource hung in the air, a thinly veiled substitute for expendable asset. Marcus felt a cold dread creep up his spine. "Sir, I had actually put in PTO for Thanksgiving Day. I've had it on the calendar for weeks." Henderson waved a dismissive hand. Yes, I saw that. But this is crucial, Marcus. Company critical. We need someone reliable, someone with your unique skill set to oversee it. You understand. It's a chance to truly shine, to demonstrate your commitment." The phrase unique skill set was another double entendre, a coded way of saying you're the only one we can expect to do this without complaint because you have to. Then came the second, deeper cut. Not only do we need you physically here, but we also need you to coordinate the external vendors, the network security specialists, the hardware installers. They'll need precise schedules, on-site supervision. It's a significant organizational effort, Marcus, a real test of leadership. Marcus swallowed, his throat suddenly dry. His mind raced, processing the implications. His precious holiday shattered, his quiet plans with Aisha replaced by the cacophony of vendor coordination, his carefully hoarded energy spent on a day meant for rest. It was a demand to work twice as hard, not just to be there, but to orchestrate a small army of professionals, all while others enjoyed their government-sanctioned reprieve. The test of leadership felt more like a gauntlet thrown, a challenge designed to highlight his perceived indispensable status while simultaneously denying his basic human right to rest. As if the knife hadn't twisted deep enough, Henderson then leaned back, a manufactured pleasantness spreading across his features. "So, Marcus, tell me, what were your plans for the holiday anyway? Anything exciting?" He paused, then added, with a theatrical wink that felt like a punch to the gut, "Please don't say work." The words hung in the air, a symphony of irony. Henderson, the architect of Marcus's forced labor, was now playing the role of the oblivious, caring manager. The audacity, the sheer, unadulterated hypocrisy left Marcus speechless. His mind screamed 1,000 retorts, 1,000 declarations of the truth, but his voice remained trapped, a prisoner of professional decorum and the ever-present fear of being perceived as difficult or uncooperative. To voice his anger would be to confirm the very stereotype he battled daily, the angry black man. He felt a searing shame, not for himself, but for the system that placed him in such an untenable position. He felt like a pawn in a cruel game, his holiday sacrificed on the altar of corporate expediency, his personal life dismissed with a flippant, insensitive joke. The golden cage of his ambition had just snapped shut, and the bars felt colder, heavier than ever before. He was expected to deliver superior performance, not just work, but to perform a celebration of his willingness to sacrifice, all while his own spirit withered under the weight of it. As if the knife hadn't twisted deep enough, Henderson then leaned back, a manufactured pleasantness spreading across his features. "So, Marcus, tell me, what were your plans for the holiday anyway? Anything exciting?" He paused, then added, with a theatrical wink that felt like a punch to the gut, "Please don't say work." The words hung in the air, a symphony of irony. Henderson, the architect of Marcus's forced labor, was now playing the role of the oblivious, caring manager. The audacity, the sheer, unadulterated hypocrisy left Marcus speechless. His mind screamed 1,000 retorts, 1,000 declarations of the truth, but his voice remained trapped, a prisoner of professional decorum and the ever-present fear of being perceived as difficult or uncooperative. To voice his anger would be to confirm the very stereotype he battled daily, the angry black man. He felt a searing shame, not for himself, but for the system that placed him in such an untenable position. He felt like a pawn in a cruel game, his holiday sacrificed on the altar of corporate expediency, his personal life dismissed with a flippant, insensitive joke. The golden cage of his ambition had just snapped shut, and the bars felt colder, heavier than ever before. He was expected to deliver superior performance, not just work, but to perform a celebration of his willingness to sacrifice, all while his own spirit withered under the weight of it. Thanksgiving Day dawned, not with the celebratory quiet Marcus had longed for, but with the shrill ring of his alarm clock at 5 a.m. The city outside his window was hushed, blanketed in a rare, reverent stillness that only holidays could bestow. He dressed in the dark, the silence of his apartment amplified by the absence of Aisha, who was visiting her family, having rearranged her own holiday plans when Marcus, with a heavy heart, had told her of his obligation. "Just another day," she'd said, trying to soften the blow, but the unspoken truth of "just another day for you" hung heavy between them. The office building was a skeletal presence against the morning sky, its usual bustling arteries now dormant. As Marcus pushed through the revolving doors, the emptiness of the lobby echoed his own hollow feeling. Inside, the sterile air conditioning hummed, a mournful counterpoint to the vibrant festivities unfolding elsewhere. He was the sole captain on a ghost ship, tasked with steering it through a storm that only he seemed to perceive. The vendors arrived in a noisy procession, their tools clanging, their voices boisterous, an unwelcome intrusion on his carefully constructed quiet. Marcus, fueled by lukewarm coffee and a growing sense of resentment, moved through the data center, coordinating, troubleshooting, mediating. He felt like a conductor in an orchestra of chaos, his baton a phone perpetually pressed to his ear, his score a complex array of technical manuals and vendor agreements. Each successful connection, each resolved glitch was a hollow victory, a small monument to his sacrifice day. Around noon, as he was negotiating a critical data transfer with a particularly stubborn network engineer, his phone buzzed. It was a group chat message from his team. Sarah had posted a picture of herself on a sun-drenched beach, a bright cocktail in hand, smiling broadly. "Happy Thanksgiving Day, team, soaking up some much-needed rays." Emily chimed in with a picturesque hike, nature's embrace, hope everyone's enjoying their day off. Even David, usually so reserved, sent a photo of a gourmet breakfast spread, treating myself. Marcus stared at his phone, the image of Sarah's carefree joy burning into his retina. A wave of profound exhaustion, mingled with a bitter, searing anger washed over him. He felt like a solitary rock in a relentless tide, slowly being eroded, while others floated effortlessly by. His unique skill set had been leveraged into another unpaid sacrifice, his PTO a ghost on the calendar. He was working not just for the company, but for the illusion of his colleagues' undisturbed leisure. He realized then, with a clarity that stung like salt in a wound, that he wasn't just doing his job. He was embodying the systemic inequality that allowed others to rise while he was continually pressed down. In that moment, amidst the whirring servers and the insistent chatter of the vendors, a quiet, defiant spark ignited within him. He looked at his hands, calloused not just from labor, but from years of reaching, grasping, pulling himself against an invisible current. He had been so focused on proving his worth, on belonging, that he had allowed himself to be diminished, to be made invisible. The company's demands were a testament to his capability, yes, but also a stark mirror reflecting their inherent bias. He had become a workhorse, invaluable yet unacknowledged, celebrated only in the quiet corners of internal reports, never with the respect or basic human courtesy afforded to others. He took a deep breath, the metallic tang of the server room filling his lungs. "All right, team," he announced, his voice surprisingly steady, cutting through the din. "Let's push this final sequence. We need to be absolutely flawless. We're going to get this done, and we're going to get it done right." It wasn't just a directive to the vendors, it was a promise to himself. He would complete this task with his usual meticulous excellence, but it would be the last time he would sacrifice his peace for an organization that so casually discarded it. His celebration wouldn't be external. It would be the internal, silent vow to reclaim his time, his worth, and his unburdened future. This was his celebration, a defiant act of self-preservation, born from the ashes of his stolen holiday. The Thanksgiving Day migration was a resounding success, completed ahead of schedule and without a single hitch, a testament to Marcus's meticulous planning and relentless effort. He sent the final confirmation email to Henderson, copying the relevant stakeholders, the timestamp a stark indicator of his holiday labor. The automated reply was immediate, perfunctory. "Thank you, Marcus. Excellent work, as always." No personal acknowledgement, no appreciation for the sacrifice day, just a bland confirmation of expected exceptionalism. He dragged himself home, the silence of his apartment now a welcome balm rather than a haunting echo. His body ached, his mind was a whirlwind of calculations and frustrations, but beneath it all, the defiant spark from earlier had taken root, beginning to smolder. He spent the evening in a quiet reverie, no celebratory dinner, no relaxed entertainment, just introspection. He scrolled through his phone, seeing more cheerful holiday posts from colleagues, from friends outside work, from family. Each one was a gentle nudge, a reminder of the life he was missing, the energy he was pouring into a system that gave so little back. The next Monday morning, the office was back to its usual frenetic pace, but for Marcus, something had fundamentally shifted. The once bright colors of corporate ambition now seemed muted, tinged with a grayish cynicism. He saw his colleagues, refreshed and invigorated, recounting their holiday adventures, and felt a profound disconnect. Sarah chatted animatedly about her digital detox, while Emily described the rejuvenating power of disconnecting. The words felt like a cruel irony, a double entendre he alone truly understood. Marcus, no longer a silent observer, began to consciously document everything. He started a digital log, dates of calls on days off, explicit requests for holiday work, instances of disproportionate workload, specific metrics of projects he solely managed while others worked on less demanding tasks. He researched company policies on PTO and holiday pay, external resources for workplace discrimination, and, most importantly, updated his resume. The fire that had sparked on Thanksgiving Day was now a slow, steady burn, illuminating a path forward. He spoke to Aisha, laying bare the full extent of his frustration and the systematic nature of the bias. She listened, her hand in his, her eyes reflecting understanding and unwavering support. "You're worth more than this, Marcus," she had simply said, and those words, more than any corporate praise, were the fuel he needed. His spirit, once a vibrant flame, had flickered dangerously low, but from the ashes of his weariness a new resolve ignited, steady and bright. He spoke to Aisha, laying bare the full extent of his frustration and the systematic nature of the bias. She listened, her hand in his, her eyes reflecting understanding and unwavering support. "You're worth more than this, Marcus," she had simply said, and those words, more than any corporate praise, were the fuel he needed. His spirit, once a vibrant flame, had flickered dangerously low, but from the ashes of his weariness a new resolve ignited, steady and bright. He was no longer just performing his role. He was preparing his exit, meticulously dismantling the invisible chains that had bound him. 3 weeks later, Marcus sat across from Mr. Henderson, a folder resting on his lap. He had taken a calculated risk, scheduled a meeting not to complain, but to present a new reality. Henderson, oblivious, began with his usual pleasantries. "Marcus, I just wanted to touch base on the upcoming quarter. We have some particularly challenging projects, and I know we can rely on you to really step up." Marcus cut him off, politely but firmly. "Mr. Henderson, I appreciate your confidence in my abilities. However, my priorities are shifting, and frankly, my current role doesn't align with where I need to be." He opened the folder. "I've compiled a summary of my contributions over the past year, specifically noting the instances where I've worked outside of my contracted hours, including holidays, to ensure project success." He pushed a neatly organized spreadsheet across the desk, detailing the Thanksgiving Day incident with cold, factual precision, cross-referenced with company policies. "I also have documentation of my consistently higher workload compared to my peers, and the disparity in how PTO is respected across the team." Henderson's smile faltered, replaced by a slight frown. He picked up the document, his eyes scanning the columns of data, the damning evidence. He looked up, his expression a mix of surprise and defensiveness. "Marcus, I don't understand. Are you implying—" "I am stating facts, Mr. Henderson," Marcus replied, his voice calm, resolute. "And I'm also informing you that I've accepted a very compelling offer with another company, where my contributions and my personal time are valued equally. My new role offers a leadership opportunity with a clear mandate for work-life balance." He paused, letting the words sink in. "My last day, if things remain as they are, would be in 2 weeks." Henderson sputtered. "Marcus, this is sudden. We can talk about adjustments, about a promotion perhaps. We can't afford to lose you, especially with the Xylotech project still ongoing. We value you." The panic in Henderson's voice was palpable. The resource he had taken for granted was now asserting his true worth and poised to walk away. "It's not just about adjustments or a promotion for me, Mr. Henderson," Marcus countered, leaning forward slightly. "It's about systemic respect and equity. I'm looking for a place where I can truly invest my time and energy, knowing that the company also invests in its people's well-being. This isn't just a Marcus problem, it's a team problem, an issue with how expectations are managed and how policies are applied. He met Henderson's gaze squarely. However, if there's a genuine, actionable commitment to rectify these issues, a significant reevaluation of workloads, equitable application of PTO, and a clear path to career growth that values both output and personal boundaries, I am willing to discuss a different path here. Henderson's face went from panic to a tight-lipped contemplation. He knew the cost of losing Marcus, not just in project delays, but in the ripple effect on team morale and the potential for others to follow suit. Marcus, this is a serious matter. Give me until end of day. I need to consult with HR and senior leadership immediately. Later that afternoon, Marcus was called back into Henderson's office, where an HR representative, Miss Davies, was also present. Henderson looked chastened. "Marcus," Miss Davies began, "Mr. Henderson has brought your concerns to our attention. We've reviewed your documentation, and frankly, it highlights significant discrepancies that we need to address." Henderson cleared his throat. "Marcus, I understand your frustrations. We value your commitment, and it's clear we've taken advantage of it. We want you to stay." Miss Davies continued. "We're prepared to offer you the newly created role of Senior Project Lead with a substantial salary increase, immediate compensation for the documented uncredited overtime, and a bonus reflecting your critical contributions to past projects, particularly Xylotech. More importantly, we're instituting a new company-wide policy effective immediately, mandating stricter adherence to contracted hours and equitable PTO enforcement across all teams. Your specific team's workload will be reevaluated and rebalanced within the next 2 weeks, with additional resources allocated as needed. Furthermore, Mr. Henderson will be undergoing management training focused on team well-being and workload distribution, and his performance reviews will now include feedback on these metrics." Marcus listened, his expression unreadable until she finished. He had leveraged his worth, not just for himself, but for a systemic shift. "And what about the leadership opportunity my outside offer presents?" Henderson, surprisingly, spoke up. "As Senior Project Lead, Marcus, you would be instrumental in implementing these new policies within our department. You'd be leading by example, shaping the very culture you're advocating for. It's an opportunity to truly make a difference from within." Marcus considered this. It wasn't just about his own escape. It was about ensuring future Thanksgiving holidays weren't stolen from anyone else. "I accept," he finally said, extending his hand. "Thank you for acknowledging these issues and committing to real change." That evening, he and Aisha sat on their sofa, a bottle of sparkling cider chilling, the scent of her homemade dinner filling the air. He held her hand, a genuine smile finally reaching his eyes. "To new beginnings," he toasted, clinking their glasses. "And to a place where my celebrations won't just be respected, but where I can help ensure everyone's celebrations are protected." This was his true celebration, not a loud, boisterous party, but a quiet, profound act of self-liberation, and, more importantly, a reclaiming of his own worth and his future within the company he had helped build. The sunrise of a new beginning stretched before him, clear and unburdened, marked by the powerful dignity of having fought for justice and won, not just for himself, but for the principle of respect.